Hello and welcome on Mindset&Co. I am your host, who is feeling pretty good. I have a lot of projects coming on. I just opened my one-on-one program for coaching. It's a 3-month program, and I'm very excited. I can welcome 4 people in this program, and it's going to be really awesome. There are some really good bonus and also WhatsApp calls available, and I just love this program so much. All the links will be in the description, by the way, if you're interested. And I am also going to do a master class, which I think is going to be next week if you listen to this podcast when it's released. There's going to be a master class on inner child healing, which is a big subject that, came back for a lot of people around me. So I would be very, very excited to do this master class. Anyway, the topic of today was brought to you by someone on Instagram who asked me to do the subject of self-confidence. And if you've read the title, you might kind of have guessed my position on that subject, because the title is The Trap of Self-Confidence. So we're going to talk about why I think it's a trap. I think usually when people talk about having more self-confidence, they're talking about it because they see it as something that they don't have and they need to acquire, And I think it's really building a false representation that some people have something that we're not able to have in this moment. That some people are just naturally confident and others not. What it really comes down to is, and what it always comes back to, is a fear of judgment and a fear of being rejected. If you listened to my previous episode, you might have heard me talk about fear of rejection as, something that we really need to be careful of, because our basic needs are food and shelter, the 2 main ones. The third one is sense of belonging to a community. So there is always a fear of rejection somewhere in our mind. Just as much as we can have a fear of not having food and a fear of not having a roof or a place to go to. Coming back to self-confidence. Okay, so remember that our brain is trying to protect us. So let's say you have a presentation at work and you need to present in front of a full room, a lot of people. Then you might start to panic. You might start thinking, I'm not good enough, my voice is shaky, my hair is messy. And again, it comes back to we are afraid of rejection. So our brain, when we start to have this, panic, this stress, our brain goes into what I call the red zone, the survival zone. And because you're under that stress, you start thinking about everything you don't have, because your brain is trying to find those missing pieces that you need to survive. So it's going to focus on the things that you don't have, because you're in that red zone, because you're under that stress. You just putting your body and your mind through that state of survival. So when we think we don't have self-confidence, it's usually because we're comparing ourselves to others who we think that have self-confidence. We think, oh, I need, a bigger butt to be self-confident. I need to have this type of clothes to be confident. All of these things that you think you need to acquire to be self-confident is because you look onto others who have that. You look onto these people who you think look pretty confident, and you think you need to have the same thing, because your brain is in that survival mode, looking for all the missing pieces around you that your brain thinks needs to stop being into that survival mode and to start thinking that you can have the self-confidence that you need, and therefore you won't feel rejected. And I think it's a really sad state to be into, because when you keep thinking that you don't have enough self-confidence, it's usually preventing you from doing a lot of things just out of fear. And in reality, everyone has fears of a lack of love And they might appear, overconfident when in reality they're not. And some people are just, not confident. They know it, so they're just going to put themselves, they're not going to show themselves. And again, we all have these fears on some level. It's always there because we need to have this sense of belonging, to the community and not being rejected. So self-confidence is not something to acquire. And when you get past these thoughts, past these traumas, you know that you are already confident deep down. You know that you are capable of doing anything that you want. And some people say face your fears because they know that once you're on that other side, you have proved to yourself, and most of all, you remember that you are capable, that you are already confident. You have all the keys within yourself. You don't need to have a specific type of clothes. You don't need to have a bigger butt. Those things might, make you happy on the moment. And of course, you should do those things if they make you really, really happy and feeling better inside. But you don't need this to be confident. I'm going to give you an example of my own life. I love to do that because I think a lot of people can relate to my examples often. So I used to have a lot of presentation at school, and they used to be really, really nerve-wracking for me. The thing is, outside, I would show nothing. I would not have a shaky voice. I would have a steady voice. I would stand up straight. I would present the things correctly, even though deep inside I was dying. My heart was racing. I was under so much stress. I hated how everyone was looking at me while I was speaking. And I was trying to control my breath as much as I could to not have that shaky voice. Let me tell you, everyone thought all the time that I was so good at presenting that I ended up presenting a whole thing with about 300 people watching. Yes, one day there was a whole school watching me, about 300 or more people watching me on a stage, kind of like a TEDx, which was the worst. It was terrible. But look, now I'm in a space where I don't get as afraid. Of course, I get a little nervous, but I don't get as afraid to talk in front of people. And it's not because I have gained more self-confidence. It's because I'm working on these parts of myself, on this red zone, on these fears, on this trauma, that today I'm able to go in front of a crowd and be good outside and be good inside. Feel okay outside, showing up, like the person I want to show up for, and feeling good on the inside as well. And working on my thoughts, working on my brain really helped me do that. And I don't know if you like the show Botched. Basically, the show Botched is about two aesthetic surgeons who basically are welcoming people who have had really complicated issues during the previous surgeries, and they are just fixing it. I love this show because you see so many people that clearly have, all these issues about feeling rejected, and just all they want is to be accepted. And they go to these extremes of having a lot of plastic surgery, having enormous lips, like enormous breasts, butts, or everything really slim, of having muscles implants, things like that. And you can really tell when they speak that they are not okay. They just want to be accepted by people so much. They just want to be looked at because they're looking for that type of attention. They want the attention. They don't want to feel rejected. And they go through all these physical plastic surgery to fix something they have and something they feel within themselves. Of course, the plastic surgery is never going to fix them. And really what those people are looking for, again, is acceptance. That's what we all want, because we need this sense of belonging in our lives. So when you see yourself like, I want more self-confidence, don't look at something to gain because it's already within you. Look at how you can heal the parts of you telling you that you cannot be confident. And go from there. Honestly, it's a practice. You may not be there tomorrow. I don't think there's ever a point where, we reach and we're like, oh, I'm full of self-confidence. No, that never happens. Remember that we all go through it. Sometimes people who show overconfidence, it's actually because they lack confidence and they're having this coping mechanism where they need to show themselves too confident and they need to bring people down with their words saying, oh, but you're not like that and I'm like that. It's all about coping mechanism. We all have these fears of being rejected. Okay, so we don't need more self-confidence. We need to work on our traumas, on our thoughts, how we show up to the world. Have to have self-love for yourself and know that you're capable of doing anything you want in this life. Sometimes it's not about having a lack of fear. It's just about crossing that fear. Again, I'm going to give another example. I haven't driven in 2 years. Okay, and I was so scared to go back to driving. I had this block in my mind that I'm gonna have an accident and that, I'm not a good driver enough anyway. And I was so scared. I used to have so much anxiety around it and almost shaking from fear. But I've done a lot of EFT tapping. All right. I've done a lot of meditation and I was still scared on some level. But I was like, okay, you know what? Let's go. I'm going to drive on a Sunday morning where almost no one is on the road. I'm going to go on a small road. I'm going to take it slowly, but I need to start somewhere. And I did. And I started to drive again. And I felt so confident. I was like, oh, actually, I know how to do this. I already know how to do this. I just needed to remember. And I needed to go for that fear to be on the other side. So you will always have fear into what we do. Because if you think people are not afraid, you are wrong. Everyone gets afraid. It's just about, okay, I'm going to take one step a little closer to that fear. Once I'm on the other side of that fear, okay, I know I can do it. I've passed it. I just needed to remember that I am able to do it. It's the same with self-confidence. You don't gain self-confidence. It's something you need to remember that you already have within yourself. Okay, that was it for this episode. That's all I had to tell you around self-confidence today. I really hope you take something out of this episode. And if you did, please rate the podcast. It helps the pod so much. So it just takes 1 second, literally 1 second. So you can rate the podcast. You can message me on Instagram if you want me to talk about a specific subject. And as I mentioned, I just opened my one-on-one coaching program. So all the links will be in the description. I also have a masterclass coming on inner child healing. It's gonna be a really, really cool masterclass, very useful. Everyone is welcome, so feel free to join. And I think that is it for this week, guys. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Bye.